BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Series 5 of Match of the Day Top 10. You know the drill by now. You might hear a bit of bad language every now and then. The good news is we've now got a swear jar, which means Alan Shearer might be able to fund a night out with Micah by the end of the series. Thanks for listening. Cristiano Ronaldo back at Manchester United. So in honour of CR7, the first episode of the new series is Romantic Returns. We're looking at the players and managers who've gone back to their former clubs with varying degrees of success. Before we get to the list, what have we made of the Ronaldo return? Mike, as a Manchester City fan, it looked like he was going to City as well. Was that a blow?
It was so close, wasn't it? When I seen it in the press. You allowed yourself to dream a little bit, because I think City needed a striker, didn't they? But I just knew someone was grumbling, like Rio was putting out like cryptic like tweets and stuff. So he obviously knew. They must have been working up for a long time.
A couple of months, I hear.
But yeah, it's great to have him in the Premier League. I mean, you know, Messi and Ronaldo. How long have we talked about them? And he's only going to make the league stronger. So excited to see him.
So he played City like mugs. They played them along. I mean, he was never going to Man City. Man United could never, ever have allowed Cristiano Ronaldo to have gone to Manchester City. I mean, I know they're on a sticky wicket anyway, the owners at Man United, but that'd have been the end of them if he had gone to Manchester City. And they played them along to, I don't know, to get his salary must have gone up and up and up. Come along, Man City. Come, yeah, all the report. He was
fishing,
never going
fishing.
there. I sat there laughing at you ex-Man City players getting all excited. He was never going there.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Well, yeah. I suppose the thing is as well, for a club like Manchester City, which is new money, it's a chance. If they can get someone like Ronaldo, it turns them into a global club. I mean, obviously they're making progress, but in terms of clubs known throughout the world, it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, isn't it? Liverpool.
I totally agree and
but
understand why they wanted him.
Yeah.
But for him to be allowed, with his success and his stature as he was and is at Manchester United, I just thought he was never going to go.
It's a massive risk, though, isn't it? Because if they don't win anything, then all the hype is going to be...
It's never been a risk. How's it a risk?
It's a massive risk, because if he goes to Man United...
It's a no-brainer.
Man City are going to guarantee trophies the next 2 or 3 years, aren't they? Guaranteed, pretty much. You go to Man United, it's not guaranteed, is it?
It's a no-brainer for Man United. They can't lose in this situation. All he might lose his job if they don't win the trophy. But for Man United, they sold Dan James, I think, for what, 25 million? And they bring Ronaldo in for under... I know his wages are astronomical, but so they should be. He deserves them. But for them to get him is a no-brainer in the situation they're in. Pressure's on them, obviously, to win a trophy.
Does it matter that he's 36 going on 37?
Not the way he's
Seemed
playing.
to, but...
No, I don't think it matters. But you know why? Because it gives the rest of the dressing room a lift. You know, when you get them players who come in, you're just like, wow.
Unless he plays in your position.
I know, yeah. But I think... if they're ever going to win the league or a trophy, it will be in these next 2 years. Even though I don't think they will.
Don't you?
No.
Why?
Because I think Chelsea are too strong. I think Liverpool with Van Dijk now, it's just incredible. Back to the... I think City...
Man City coming out with him straight away. They're not going to win a trophy.
I don't think they're going to win. I think they'll come close.
Yeah.
But the longevity of winning the league, 38 games, I can't see it. You're talking about Fred and Matic in that position.
Well, they got McTominay as well.
McTominay, he's been injured though.
Pogba's all right.
Bruno
Fernandes.
Pogba's better going forward, isn't it? We're talking about defensively.
Yeah. But with Ronaldo, we just outscore teams. Varane?
No, Varane's quality. No, the back line is superb. Yeah. It's just the holding midfield role I'm not sure about.
You just don't want to be sure.
That's what I'm laughing at.
So Ronaldo going back, it was a lovely story, wasn't it? I mean, it was
an amazing story. I mean, when you look at his career and particularly his career at Man United, he started there. Started very raw but unbelievable talent. You could see that from the beginning, and where he's got to. I mean, he's him and Messi have taken goal scoring to another level. It was ridiculous. The number of goals that these guys have.
It's a goal a game, isn't it?
It's
How many goals do you think he'll score to two former strikers?
Depends how often. If he stays fit.
Yeah, he will stay fit. He's a machine, isn't he?
25?
Well, I think I'm right in saying the last time he failed to score 20 or more league goals
he was 12.
Was the season he left Man United in 2009, I think it was.
No way.
So it's like, I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed, I would say, 20 league goals.
It's just if at some point age catches up on him and Father Time has to catch up on his son unless he keeps doing it till he's about 50.
He looks in better shape now than he did when he was last year.
Yeah, remarkable. Right, here we go.
Maybe you should try his diet.
Anyway, before we wait to see Ronaldo's full impact at Old Trafford this season, here is our top 10 of other romantic returns in no particular order. Oh, God, here he is again.
How? Who's doing the list? Who is doing the list here?
Good job, we know nothing about these lists.
Your agent's doing the list.
It's written down here for me because I got the list. Our very own Alan Shearer.
Oh, my!
Our very own Alan Shearer back to his hometown as a player, very successfully.
Oh.
And then it says, and manager.
Oh, no.
Not quite so successfully. Another proper Newcastle legend, Kevin Keegan's 2 returns to St James's Park as manager. We've got Kenny Dalglish going back to Liverpool as manager in 2011. He'd previously been player manager, of course, at Anfield. Another managerial return, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he went back to Old Trafford. After spells in China and Turkey, Didier Drogba made a romantic return to Chelsea in 2014. Middlesbrough legend Juninho returned to the Riverside not once, but twice. Thierry Henry made a return to Arsenal on loan in 2012. He only played a handful of games, but still scored a couple of important goals. Perhaps the definition of a romantic return was Wayne Rooney going back for a last Premier League hurrah at Everton. Staying on Merseyside, Robbie Fowler had grown men crying on the Kop when he went back to Liverpool. And finally, Gareth Bale's return to Spurs last season. Where do we start?
Well, we don't start with me going back to Newcastle as manager, that's for sure, do we?
That's number 10 for me.
Well, we might as well start with you, though, Alan. Let's start on the positive. You're managing. No, let's start with your. I mean, we've talked about this a few times, haven't we? In the stories of how it happened, and you could have gone to Manchester United and won lots of things, and you opted to go to Newcastle and won bugger all. But you went back. Your numbers were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly different because obviously I wasn't at Newcastle when I left. I was a schoolboy. I was 15 when I left to go to Southampton.
So you never really played.
So I didn't. I was only. I mean, I played for Newcastle City Boys. That was it. It wasn't anything to do with Newcastle United. So I just left Newcastle, went to Southampton, and then returned as a player.
How did Newcastle miss you as a lad, or did they, or did you just take the option to go to Southampton?
I went on trial with Newcastle for a couple of days, and I wasn't offered any schoolboy forms or apprenticeship or anything like that. No.
Always a striker.
Always as a striker, yeah. I played. There's a story out that I played in goal on trial, which there was 22 of us, and we have an 11v11, but there was only one goalkeeper, and the team that I was on, we all had to sort of play 5 minutes in goal, and I had to take my turn. And of course, the stories come out of that when I went on trial to Newcastle and played me in goal. So
they thought, right, but that wasn't quite true. Were you just crap in the trials?
I was probably not very good in the trials, But and then I went back as the player.
Describe the emotions of the return. How did it? Because they paraded you somewhere, wasn't there some outside thing? I remember about there must have been at least 35, 36 fans turned up to.
I think there's about 15 or 16,000.
All right.
I spoke to Kevin Keegan and to Sir Alex. I met Kevin in Manchester, believe it or not, for second round of talks, and then just decided I'm going to sign for Newcastle, and immediately flew out to the Far East on a pre-season tour, and then flew straight back into Newcastle, and then they had the press conference.
Was it totally heart over head?
No, not at all. It was everything. I thought I thought I was going back to win things. And Newcastle had just the season before I signed.
Been going quite well, hadn't they? Yeah.
Blown that 12-point lead that they had over Man United over the last couple of months. So it wasn't as if I was just going back to an ordinary football club who weren't challenging. They were challenging for the Premier League, but it soon worked out that we didn't win the league either the following year. Finished second. Kevin left after 6 months. Kevin Keegan, and then. That was it, yeah.
Did you have a chance to move again once you signed for Newcastle? Because you know you're supposed to go
towards the last couple of years when Ruud, obviously you know the story. Ruud, he left me. I would have had to have left if Ruud had stayed on. He didn't. But then towards the last couple of years, there was a couple of interested parties, but there was nothing ever concrete, nothing ever serious, no ever talks or anything like that. No.
Emotionally, in front of all those fans when you went your first appearance at St James's Park, describe what that felt like.
My dream come true. I always wanted to do it. It was because I'd followed Kevin Keegan, which we'll talk about in a minute, with his return to Newcastle as manager. I was there for Kevin's debut as a player when he scored QPR. I think I was stood in the Gallagher end as a 11 or 12-year-old watching that. So I wanted to do that. I wanted that feeling. So for me, who'd been there every week to St James's Park, to go there and eventually score was amazing. It wasn't so great on my debut in the Charity Shield, though, when Man United stuffed us 4. And then we go to Everton on the first day of the season at Goodison Park, and Everton beat us 2-0, I think it was. So 2 games, 4-0 and 2-0. I'm thinking, what the f*** am I doing? What hell?
And you carried on thinking that for 5 years.
Then the first game, that sort of changed, yeah. To score at St James's on my first home game was amazing.
Well, we discussed that. We should actually do what we do and do a list. As always,
hold on. We've not mentioned his return as a manager.
No,
we're
going to come to that.
Okay. I thought you were trying to skip that bit.
I was.
Yeah, we'll hold the manager's bit for a little bit later when we discuss your order and all that. I wanted to
gloss over it if you want.
Because I think what we're going to do is we'll just edit that bit out, and then we'll keep in the manager's bit. Right. As you started talking, Alan, you're 10 to 6.
10 to 6. I've gone Gareth Bale to Spurs.
Bale, yeah.
Me to Newcastle.
Oh, you've never put yourself that low.
No, I know. Yeah, it's only because of the managerial thing. Robbie Fowler to Liverpool.
Yep.
Didier Drogba back to Chelsea.
I've got a crisis. Oh, no, the pen's working again.
And
Drogba, yeah.
Thierry Henry to Arsenal.
I can't take that list seriously. How will you put Gareth Bale in 10 when he scored 11 in 20 games? How?
Did you see the way it ended and how he hardly... a lot of those were substitutes, weren't they? Late on the hat-trick.
Micah, 10 to 6?
Obviously, Alan in 10th. Dalglish, number 9. Bale, number 8. Yeah. Fowler, number 6.
Hang on, you've just had a pop at me for Bale and 10.
I know, yeah. I was just thinking
I was just thinking
I thought he was going to be number 1 after you hammering me.
Fowler, number 7.
Yeah.
Have we got that? Yes. Rooney, number 6.
Rooney. Okay. Right. We'll carry on with you, Al, and we'll talk about managing. Okay. I mean, I think it was 8 games left of the season.
8 games, yeah.
And where Newcastle were fighting for relegation.
We were bottom, I think, when I took over. I mean, I got because I was sat with you on the BBC studio.
I know.
Why on God's earth did you take that job?
I remember saying to you, what are you doing?
To me, are you mad? That's what you said. And I think the answer was yeah. It was Newcastle. You can't. I mean, they were in the mire. They were in so much trouble. So if someone says to you, we need a bit of a hand or try and help us, then that was it. It was my club. And first of all, I had to ring the BBC and say, look, I've had this unbelievable opportunity. It's only going to be for 2 months. Would you please release me from my contract for the last 2 months of the season? And thankfully, they did.
Thankfully.
Well, I mean, I would have kicked myself if I had said no and not gone and give it a go.
How different was managing to playing? I mean, it's totally different.
It was.
Did you feel underprepared?
You go right throughout your career playing, and stress levels. Yeah, there's a little bit. When you go and take a penalty in a tough situation, or you're on a barren run, you haven't scored for 4 or 5 games, and you're thinking, when's the next goal going to come along? But the stress is
of coaching
goes to a different level, and that feeling of nervousness that you have on a pitch of not scoring. I mean, it's nowhere near anything that you feel like standing on the touchlines. And I only had it for the 8 games. I mean, these guys that stand on the touchline year after year, week after week.
I suppose that helps though, because you sort of get used to it and you know what you're doing. You were thrown in. You've gone into a TV studio. You play football, obviously, but it's a totally different job. It's like man management, coaching, organisation, staff, million different jobs in one. Tell me about you go in your first day. You've not really done any proper preparation for that because that wasn't the role that you're going to move into.
Yeah.
Were you nervous going in about meeting the players? Did you think, what am I going to say to them?
No, I wasn't nervous from that side of it. What I found very, very difficult is that you have standards of terms of how you want to play or how you turn up to play. I'm a stickler for timekeeping and all the professional things that go along with being a footballer.
You were a top professional, and you would expect that from players. And was it hard to deal with it when they weren't?
That's the difficult thing. My first day of training was a Thursday, so we were playing our first game on the Saturday. So I send a message out to everyone, the whole squad, including the staff, on the Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, to say, come in half an hour earlier tomorrow. I asked the staff to be in at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock's not. I don't think it's too early. Yeah. I asked the players to be in at 9:30. So
you pissed every player off immediately. Great move, Al.
To be in at 9:30, I didn't think that was asking too much to you. So I get in. I'm in at 7:30, 8:15. How can you piss someone off asking them to come in half an hour early?
You played with enough footballers to know that players don't want to come in half an hour early. So keep them there half an hour longer.
Yeah.
So I said, be in at 9:30, and I promise you, over this next 8 weeks, you will be in the training ground no later than 1 o'clock, and that includes lunch. It's not too much to ask, is it?
That's all right.
That's all right.
So I turn in at 7:30-ish in the morning, and all my staff should be in by now. I've got one member of staff late.
No way.
That's a good start, isn't it?
Who's that?
The doctor.
Oh, my word.
The doctor. Well, he probably had some patients to look after.
Yeah. So that didn't start well. And then 9:30 comes and I never got two players that are late. Thinking,
who were they? Oh, you're not going to say?
No, I don't think it's right for me to say. So I thought,
Did you deal with that? Did you? I mean, I suppose if 2 players walk in late and you're already there, and then you've got to deal, that puts you on the spot immediately.
I didn't obviously couldn't start the meeting until those 2 players came in.
Yeah.
Players apologised, and I thought, okay, I've got a decision to make here. What do I do? So that's the first test.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I've not even been in an hour, by the way, and
do I show strength in front of everyone, or do I show a little bit of forgiveness and a little bit?
That's the decisions. So I sort of turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
Say nothing. I said, look, I just had a quiet word with him. And so I thought, okay, meeting goes, training goes. Next morning, we revert back to starting at 10 o'clock. 2 players late for training.
Same 2?
No, different. One was the same player, and a different player. It's like there's. So then I think, well, this is I've got to try and do something now. So I try and put a fine system in.
Oh, making himself even more popular.
But I couldn't. PFA wouldn't allow it. It's like you couldn't put a fine system in.
What was your fine system that you wanted to put in?
As of after the game on the Monday, the first time you're late, as of Monday, it's 10% your wages.
No wonder 10%.
Don't be late then.
You could have started 100 quid or 200.
You're in Newcastle. You're not in the centre of London. There's no traffic at 10 o'clock in the morning at Newcastle.
$5 grand and 10 go. Ridiculous.
I was never late.
So
you never late?
I was never late. I was never late.
That's why generally footballers are pretty punctual people because they had 10% left. Fine.
So that was it. That's the start of, well, how do you deal with it? Do I piss some players off by you try to discipline?
The thing is, you've not got the experience of going through it before, have you?
Exactly.
As well? And they're testing you as well, aren't they? They're looking, we know him as a player.
Yeah, but why? I don't get that. Why would they want to do that? The goal is to stay up. So you don't want to be having arguments between...
No. Well, you wouldn't want arguments, would you? But you'd be looking at...
But if you're a player, surely you'd want to get there early and do the best you can do.
To impress the new manager.
I got relegated.
That's the way good professionals think, though.
I got relegated, and some of them players, I don't know what it was like at Newcastle, but we had 50% cut in the Championship. So even if your motivation is money, which it shouldn't be, you'd think they'd try and get there on time to stay in the Premier League and play the best football in the world. I don't get it. I tell you, I was late once. I think I might have told you before. England under McLaren, my first call up.
First call up, you were late.
Honest, I wasn't late getting there. I was just in my room, and my alarm. I slept through my alarm.
Oh no!
The first meeting, and McLaren just looked at me.
I'm never late, honest. I promise I'm never late, really, honest.
Honest. Yeah, I forgot it. Come back to me. Yeah. But that's the only time.
Did he say anything?
He had a little quiet word after, but I was starting. So when I was starting, he could do what he want, can't he, really?
No.
Who was playing second to me at the time? Gary Neville was injured and didn't have another right back, so he had to start me anyway.
No choice. No choice.
You're never late, are you?
No.
Well, I'm on Saturday then.
Well, on Saturday.
Oh, you was late, was
you?
So
I travelled up from London on Saturday, as did Gary, as did Ian Wright.
Yes. I was with you. I was in the room with you.
You were.
Yes.
You were sat there with me. And all three of us, as I said, travelled up from London. 2 people were late coming from London. Gary and Wright, they're both late.
Yeah.
Why? Just leave earlier.
Well, I would have done if I'd known there was going to be an accident. You probably just missed the accident. Just to think. But at least we weren't in there.
Anyway, going back to Newcastle, it's. I wouldn't. I worked extremely hard. The vast majority of players and everyone else were all pulling in the same direction, and it just wasn't to be. We just weren't good enough.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, devastated. I mean, it was as tough of time I've had on a football pitch as I've ever had, to be honest, because I genuinely thought that going in there we could do it, but we finished third bottom, I think. So we improved it by 2 places.
If you'd have been there another 2 seasons, you'd have won the league. At that rate. You actually wanted to continue, didn't you? Yeah, but
I'd done a deal with Newcastle, an agreement with them that 3-year contract, budget, salary. That was on the Tuesday after the season finished. Had the meeting on the Tuesday morning, finished late Tuesday afternoon and agreed, and then said, see you Thursday to announce it.
What happened?
And then I got a call to say there was a problem with the bank, we'll be in touch. And what is it? 12 years. 12 years, I'm still waiting for the call.
Did you ever get a call?
No.
No, Mike Ashley never... So he did it, you agreed with him, and then who called you to say there's a problem with the bank?
The secretary. So there's a problem with the bank and we'll be in touch.
Should have signed the papers.
They weren't there to be signed.
So you just never heard a Dickie Bird again?
No.
So did you not call and say, what's happening?
No, not spoke to him since. No.
You've never spoken to Mike Ashley since? Never?
Never.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Got a bit of silence there.
I know, yeah. It's got a bit too serious now, hasn't it?
It's quite poignant, that. It's quite poignant, yeah.
That was
and
my 8 games in Newcastle.
He's still there.
He's still there, yeah. He doesn't want to be there, does he? He wants to sell out.
I think he's trying to sell it, isn't he?
Well, he definitely is. We know that.
Are you bitter towards him? You would be entitled to be, I think, under those circumstances.
No, I'm not bitter. I think you just learn to understand that it happens in football, and you just got to move on with it. I think I'm in a better place, certainly more relaxed place in terms of what we do.
Yeah.
We do live telly. You get a little bit of buzz and excitement, which is brilliant. You're never ever going to replicate the stress and the pressure of playing or managing, or certainly not managing.
One slightly hypothetical question: if say Mike Ashley left, sold the club, and the new owners gave you a call tomorrow to come and manage Newcastle, would you take that job?
No.
No, you wouldn't.
No. It's too late for me now. Management, it's too late.
I was going to get some more dates of Match of the Day then. Get yourself off, Alan.
Come on, take the job.
It'll take a lot more for you to get more dates.
Don't worry, Mikey. You've got years on your side.
Okay.
You've got years on your side. But that was great. That's taken up pretty much short. We'll just whiz through the top 10 as per usual. Who have you both got in your signing 10s to 6? Bale. We talked about Bale, didn't we? And he went back. Obviously, it was a loan deal. I mean, he was superstar at Tottenham, and actually a genuine superstar at Real Madrid as well. I mean, it's been the last couple of years have been pretty difficult for him, haven't they? Bizarrely, really, he's got that odd relationship, hasn't he, with their supporters, where you would think he should be adored, but I'm not sure he actually is.
He actually did well, though. I think if you
That's
think
what I mean.
about it,
He did really well. He won
11
load
goals
of Champions
20.
Leagues and loads of goals and brilliant
I got
performances.
the feeling that Jose never really wanted him.
Do you think that was? I don't know. Only Jose.
They wanted to bring in someone like to say
Well, he didn't play him very
challenging.
often, did he?
No,
Towards the
exactly.
end, and actually, when he did start playing regularly, he put in some good performances.
Absolutely.
I mean, what?
It was just a
good player.
different player, though. We know we had a laugh about him roasting me loads of times. But when he was playing on the right and quitting on the left, he wasn't as devastating as we've seen him in the past. But he looked technical. I thought he did really, really well. I think the shots of him always playing golf when he was in Madrid weren't great, but the stigma attached to him that he's not a good lad and all that. He's one of the nicest, most humble people.
I don't think anyone says he's not a good lad, do they? I just think the criticism was, does he love football enough because of the golf thing?
How can you question someone's love
No,
for football?
I'm not questioning
exactly.
that. I'm saying I think that's the perception from perhaps Real Madrid fans, for example.
Yeah, which is acceptable at times, but I don't understand how you can have that opinion of him when
I agree.
he just loves football and he just wants to be quiet and do his own thing because he's not a superstar in terms of off the field like Ronaldo.
Yeah,
and that people want him to be because he's quite quiet.
Sometimes do you think perhaps you can't win?
You can't win.
You can be big time like if an English player was a bit like Ronaldo and as showy as people would go, oh, he's too.
It's like Grealish, isn't it?
He
Everyone's
talks
like,
about I'm the best player in the world
Exactly.
and stuff. If Bale said that, they go, oh, he's too big for his boots.
Yeah.
And the fact he's really quiet, they're saying, oh, he doesn't care enough about football. He's not passionate. You can't win in many ways, can you?
Well, I don't know the ins and outs, but certainly looking from the outside, I cannot for the life of me understand how he is not adored at Real Madrid after the career that he's had there and what he's achieved
Some of
there.
those, that overhead kick in the final, and
yeah.
just unbelievable moments.
Incredible.
I suppose in terms of romantic returns, his one in particular, there were no supporters, were they?
Yes,
When he
that's a
came
very
back.
good
So
point.
that he missed that, didn't he? Because he would have had that adulation, I think, from the fans. I think there was a few games towards the end where you might got a few in, but he didn't have that opening day. You imagine that new stadium was full and Gareth Bale walks out.
I went to the first game against Man City and the noise at Tottenham's stadium
It's
now,
unbelievable stadium,
it is literally incredible.
I think it's the best football stadium, I think.
Yeah, I
Possibly in
would
the
I would
world,
agree. And it's we talk about homecomings.
We can do a
It
top
was-
10 stadium.
Stadium, that'd be a good
Once
one,
we
yeah.
start running out of ideas. Top 10 stadium.
We did an FA Cup live
Yeah, we did.
last season. And I remember Gareth Bale, and I was just looking at him, and he sat on the bench, and he looked a lonely figure sat on the bench, and I just thought, it just doesn't look right that it was him sat on the bench with the career that he's had. I mean, he's not that old, is he?
Do you think if it was English, it'd be different though? I think because he's Welsh, we don't get as much love. I think if it was English, we would get more love.
When you say he doesn't get the love, I mean,
From football people,
all
he
three
does.
of us
From
here have
football.
just waxed lyrical about him, saying how great he is. And
Yeah.
so when you say he doesn't, I mean, from the Real Madrid fans,
Just a perception.
from the media as well.
just the media.
He has to be one of the greatest British players of all time.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
He's right up there.
Here's
right
a
up
question:
there,
is he
top-
better than Giggs? Ryan Giggs, is he better than Ryan Giggs?
No.
No, see, but if you look at the
Yeah, but-
numbers,
yeah,
in terms of goals and assists over the years, Gareth Bale's way better.
Yeah.
But Giggs is a...
Giggs was a one-club man as well. You know, Bale, he turned it on. He did it at Tottenham. He was unbelievable that last season or two at Tottenham. And then to do it at Real Madrid for years, it's a difficult
It's
one.
a difficult
But
one,
those,
isn't it?
and they obviously play in similar positions. I think Bale's probably more of a spectacular player in that way. I don't know. It's a good shout.
It's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Who else we got? We got Al. You got Fowler at 8. You at 7. Obviously going back to. I mean, Robbie Fowler's top. You must have played with Robbie with England, and he was more your era than mine.
I mean, he was when we talk about finishers, he was probably the best natural.
Yeah.
It just he made it's the toughest in the business. It's the toughest to do is finishing, but he made it look very, very easy. Robbie, I think.
Yeah. I seen him at
gifted.
the latter part of his career when he come to City. Him and McManaman.
He went there as well.
Yeah, he was at City. No, everyone forgets that. And his just natural ability was, he'd put on a bit of weight by then, but it's just his left foot, the way he used to guide it into the corners. He was special. Yeah. Really. And I was gutted I only got, I think it was a year with him. Yeah.
He's quite a character as well.
Great character. Great to have in
trouble for one of those
celebrations. Let's not do that, or we all get sacked.
We'll do a top 10 of worst celebrations. We'll get that one in there somehow. But you know,
what a player, goal scorer.
I mean, that was
phenomenal.
That was quite an era when. With that England, that was around, say, 96.
When you look at
strikers that were going then, boy, oh boy, in England.
I was just going to say that. You beat me to it in terms of if you look now with England, and you got Harry Kane, obviously, he's a fantastic player. Under him, and you look at, you got Calvert-Lewin, Bamford's in the squad.
Yeah, it's not quite, it's not the
Ings has
level.
been in the squad. Callum Wilson's been in the squad. I forget one or two others.
Vardy before that.
Vardy. If you look at the list of players, 96, maybe before and just after. I mean, Fowler, Cole, Sheringham, Wright, Ferdinand, Collymore, Letizier. It's like unbelievable.
Timing is
incredible.
But if you look at this England squad now, I know you could perhaps take away the middle because you've got Harry Kane, and then behind that there is a gap. But nowadays you don't really play two up anyway, do you? It's just kind of one. Yeah. And then, but look at the players we've got on either side. My goodness me! And in that sense, there's a huge amount of talent. We digressed slightly as we often do. Al, you got Drogba in there. You've obviously got him high.
Yeah, I mean, he was a. I mean, we don't have to say what he did at Chelsea. When he's a season after when he got back. I think it's always difficult because there's not many times that a player who's been great for a football club then comes back and replicates what he's done.
That's what I was saying, isn't it? Never go back.
No. Yeah. But they're great stories, and fans want their heroes back that have worked. And sometimes it works for the manager to get someone in as well. If the manager's struggling, then
it just gives you a place to live.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nightmare to play against Drogba.
Did you?
Many times. Yeah. When I was playing centre back, and he just had a little thing. As soon as you leaned on him as well, he just fell over, and he was strong. But he was very intelligent.
He was very good at that.
Yeah, his locks going everywhere, and it was so annoying to play against. And he scored some worldies. I think we played him against Man City early doors.
Was he one of those?
Yeah, we had loads.
Did you?
Loads.
Were you?
No, I never used to give anything to the referee. I used to talk to the players. But he started like trying to mug you off a little bit, and that's when you just lose. Yeah, you lose your head. But he can't do anything because he's too good. When I was playing against Chelsea, when he was there, we was an average Premier League side, so it was tough. But his movement, him in the air, and just when you think he's switching off, he just peels to the back. And I found him very difficult to play against.
We played against Marseille and Newcastle. I can't remember, it was semi-final, quarter-final.
I remember that.
UEFA Cup.
He smashed you.
And he beat us up. That. He battered us.
We did that game. I think I covered that game on TV.
He was phenomenal, and I hadn't really noticed him too much before, but playing on the same pitch as him, you look and you think, and he didn't disappoint, did he, after that? So, amazing.
Certainly didn't. Let's get our top fives. Michael, 5?
What have I got? 5 here. Thierry Henry. Solskjaer, number 4. Juninho, number 3. Keegan, number 2. And Drogba was my number 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think returning and coming and winning the Premier League, I just think that's the influence, like we said, it's not just on the pitch, it's off the pitch as well. So he's my number 1.
Well, okay. Yours obviously isn't because you've
No.
got. This is going to be
Similar,
interesting.
though. I've gone Kenny back to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Same as Micah, Ollie in number 4, Man United.
Yeah.
I've gone 3, Juninho to Borough.
Same. Yeah.
I've gone 2, Rooney to Everton.
I knew you'd go Keegan.
And Kevin Keegan
I
to
knew you'd go
Newcastle.
Keegan. I feel that we'll come to the top choices shortly. Kenny Dalglish going back. I mean, Kenny, you know so well.
Yeah, I know him very well. He's an amazing guy. He was brilliant as a manager. Obviously, he got the call to come in and help Liverpool. But probably didn't go as well as he wanted. He won a League Cup, I think it was, in his second spell. And you know what Kenny means to the people of Liverpool for what he's done on and off the pitch.
What was he like as a manager? I mean, I know Kenny as a bloke.
Brilliant manager.
I struggled to understand any word he said.
It didn't quite work for him at Newcastle, but at Blackburn. I mean, where he took Blackburn from to what he achieved.
What was so good about him, though? What did he do in training?
He didn't do a lot of the training. Ray Harford, who's no longer with us, sadly, he did a lot of the training, but they were a brilliant partnership, which I think is hugely important. He just knew what players wanted and knew how to treat players. I think very similar in terms of what you have to be as a man manager to what Fergie, but he knew how to discipline you if you needed that. And also he obviously had the respect of what he achieved as a player and a manager at Liverpool in his first time.
He won the double.
Did, yeah.
As player manager.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, who does player manager anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, Company went.
Company tried to do it.
He spent 2 months and quit playing because he couldn't do the two.
Did Rooney do it a little bit as well?
I think he did do
Rooney
it a little
did it
bit. Yeah,
at
Rooney
Derby,
did it.
didn't he?
But that didn't last long. I mean, God, it must be unimaginably difficult to do both because it used to be a bit of a thing, didn't it, back in the day? And he did it and won the double.
Yeah,
I know, to my expense, because we were the team that I was at Everton in that season.
Oh, right.
That was the season when we were.
What year was that?
86, 85, 86.
And is that when they've done you in the...
You weren't born.
Again.
You weren't born.
That was the FA Cup? Or the league?
Oh, double. League, FA.
Yeah.
Well, in the league, we were a few points clear with about 12 games to go, and they won, I think, their last 12 games.
Right.
And pipped and they had to go to Chelsea on the last day, and they were just ahead of us 1 point. So if they drew and we won, we would have won the league. And we scored a couple. I got a couple early against Southampton, and then there was this big roar went round Goodison. You know, like there's been a goal, and you think, Christ, Chelsea have scored. Honestly, the place was buzzing. It was jumping. I was thinking, oh my God, right, So then we go 3-up, and we're going at half time, and it's 1-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we thought, so somebody's obviously got. What they think it was maybe a few Liverpool fans cheering that were sneaked into the Everton or into the ground just to watch a game of football. Obviously, and then people assumed it's not like now where everyone had mobile phones. And then it started going around the ground, and then I remember and everyone was like, "Oh no!" And who scored it? Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah. I remember it. Yeah.
You know that was it, and they won 1-0.
Yeah.
And I think we won 6-0, and I scored a hat trick. But listen, there's a way to I know, but yeah. But so I mean, Kenny's
he was brilliant.
He's a great man.
Superb.
A great man. Obviously, he went through so much with the Hillsborough thing, and you've both got. Actually, we'll go to Thierry Henry first because you're very similar with that. Thierry, that was a kind of all about emotion, wasn't it? Really, it was very much at the end of his career. Just go back, help out a little bit, feel good factor. Remember when he scored the goal? It was a beautiful moment.
It was getting Leeds, was it? I think it was Leeds. FA Cup? I think it was. Anyway.
You know damn well it was. You've done your research.
No. It's remember because I had a bet on the game.
You get the FA on, do you?
A friendly bet.
Yeah, you be careful. It's not too late to be done.
No, the police on the home.
Micah Richards and BBC betting storm.
Yeah, but Thierry Henry was, his first spell at the club,
He's never going to get anywhere near that, was he?
No.
Just where he was, one of, if not the best forwards of the Premier League's ever seen. Stunning.
Yeah.
Starstruck I still get starstruck when I see him now.
Do you?
Because I was an Arsenal fan, wasn't I?
I did a thing with him recently. I was for that Ted Lasso.
You seen that?
Yes, no, I've not seen it. I've seen it.
I did. We had a scene together, and it was fun. And those things you always hang around for hours, don't we? So we just sat chatting, and he just loves talking football. He loves the game of football. He's
still
fascinating.
super cool, isn't he?
He's Thierry Henry, isn't he?
I know. He texted me as well the other day.
Did you get excited?
And I was like, Butterfingers fingers don't know what it feels like.
See, when I text him, he's like, what?
You know, I'll see one now. Oh, yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed he hasn't texted me at all. He's not sent flowers or anything. Nothing. Even we had a nice, I thought we had a nice connection for a few hours. Good energy and all that. And now I've heard nothing since. Just got it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, I think Ole's return has turned out a million times better than probably anybody could have thought. I think it was quite an inspired choice at the time because they're in a little bit of a rut, weren't they? In a bit of a mess, and it was one of those. It was meant to be temporary, wasn't it?
No, that's right.
And it was like a feel-good thing. It was.
They turned on him though. A couple of the fans.
Well, fans do.
Yeah, I know. They turned on him, but
every time it's looked like it's going to go wrong, they've turned a corner.
It was that PSG game. Just saved him. But
he's done well, hasn't he?
I like him. I've never said a bad thing about him. Just because where Man United were at the time when he came in, it was difficult, wasn't it? Yeah. He brought the confidence back.
He had a great run.
Yeah, he had a really good run.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job. I mean, the pressure has now been cranked up because
got to win something, probably.
Of what's happened, the signings that they've made this season in Varane, Sancho, and particularly Ronaldo. He's now expected to go and win a trophy, win a big trophy. I mean, they missed out last year, which was a big blow, I think.
It was Europa League, wasn't it?
Europa League, Pens. But
because
this year
prior to getting the United job, his track record in management was mediocre at best, wasn't it? I mean,
Cardiff, wasn't it? It was, and then he was all right when he was back home, wasn't it? He was decent. But you just don't expect him to get that job. So, no, I respect him for the job that he's done. It's just whether he can go to the next level, and only time will tell.
Yeah. Winning trophies is ultimately what clubs
it was the right decision at the right time.
Exactly that.
It was perfect timing. The situation that Man United were in. And they've gone to a former player who had a very, very good record. As you say, his record at Cardiff was poor. But it worked. I think it's worked really well for them.
But they've got a squad now, haven't they? I mean,
it's dangerous.
I know this is not what we talk about generally, the immediacy of things, but this season's title race could be tasty, couldn't it?
I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think
that top four.
I mean, with how City didn't get the players. They got the player they wanted. They didn't get Kane. Having said that, they didn't really have a centre forward in terms of Aguero. They didn't use him a lot last season.
They've got one now, Jesus, but they don't usually play him there anyway. He sticks him on the wing.
Torres is not bad though. Torres is all right. He makes some good runs in behind. But City still won the league, by 12 points last season.
Exactly.
So not having a striker, I don't think it'll be. I think January comes, forget it's not for the rest of the season. January comes, if they're there or thereabouts, they could go back in the market, couldn't they?
Well, he obviously wanted one. He didn't get Ronaldo and he didn't get Kane, so he felt as if that's where he needed to improve.
Yeah.
But
who's got the best squad in your opinion? You say Chelsea, Man City.
Well, I said Chelsea. I said Chelsea for the league, and they've had a really good start.
Chelsea's squad is really.
United is looking good.
United is looking really good.
Shaw's being
the
on
only
fire.
place you would say United really. I put my cards on the table. Ed Woodward's a good friend of mine. He's my neighbour. We signed Ronaldo when he's in my garden. It was awesome. So that was fun.
But you knew before everyone else.
I knew when he walked in and he was on the phone to Mendes or someone. I don't know. I'm hopefully giving too much away here, but he did sign him. So I've got a fantastic picture of him on the phone in the back garden there, which I might share one day with his permission. But overall, I think they've gradually got themselves back into a very strong position, haven't they? If you look at their squad 4 or 5 years ago, to where it looks now, there's a massive difference.
Well, even I think if you speak to the Man United fans, they would tell you over the last few years they haven't been ready to challenge.
No, they haven't.
I think that they view it differently now, the same as what we do now. They think, and rightly so, and I think that they're ready to challenge.
The only thing is that the other three big ones all still look really, really strong as well. So it's could be tasty. Chelsea. Lukaku makes a massive difference, doesn't he?
Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Lukaku's another romantic return in many ways, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not on our list because it's so early, the same reason we didn't put Ronaldo on the list. But him going back to Chelsea, you could see he really wanted to do that, didn't he? Genuinely. I think he wanted to prove a point.
I think he's amazing, Lukaku. I think he still has got another level to go, as stupid as it sounds with all the goals that he's scored. But he scored two the other day? Yeah. And he's just... You know where Werner got it wrong in terms of Werner was there, but he just couldn't finish it off. Lukaku's guaranteed goals. Yeah. So if you add that to European champions... I always think
one of the important things for a striker is being able to finish it off.
But I mean, if you look at him at Leipzig, he could finish it off. Yeah. But
it's a bit of basketball league, isn't it? Like, boom, boom, boom. But I mean, but it is a very, it's a good league. German football's terrific, but it's different. You come and you don't, if you don't settle early, and some players don't cut. I don't think Lukaku's going to suffer from that so-called Chelsea.
Werner just doesn't look natural. He looks as if everything's an effort. When he's in front of goal, he can't sort his feet out, and he's got to think about too many things. I mean, we spoke about Robbie Fowler earlier, where everything was natural to him. I mean, everything looked really difficult for Werner last season. So you've got a guy coming in like Lukaku, and that's why I tipped Chelsea to win the league.
Juninho,
pocket
little
wizard, wasn't he?
Lovely footballer.
Middlesbrough. Watch him play.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Was it 2 or 3 times? I mean, but it was a huge surprise, I think, when Middlesbrough first got this young Brazilian kid. I mean, he was only that height, wasn't he? He was like really skinny. And you're thinking, how's this guy going to do? I can't really see him coming into
cope with Premier League when it was
with the physicality, but he just danced around tackles. His balance was brilliant, and the fans at Middlesbrough loved him.
How did they get him at the time?
Was it Sao Paulo? I think he came from. I'm not right.
Because he had some weird Ravanelli as well, didn't he?
Ravanelli, Silver Fox.
Yeah.
Had some
they brought in some. They were a bit of a thing back then, weren't they? They're obviously struggling a bit now in the Championship, but Juninho, lovely little character. Worked with. He did a
very, very good player.
He did a World Cup with us at one point, but he could play, couldn't he?
He could play, as I said, the balance, and because the one thing that coming into our league is that if you are going to do well, then you're going to get hit. You're going to have to take some. Certainly, then when he was a player, the tackles were more physical then than they are now. Yeah. But he just bounced off them, and I think that showed his character. Yeah. He was very, very talented. Yeah.
Wayne Rooney, we mentioned him briefly, didn't we, about being a player manager, and he went back to Everton. Obviously, where he started, with that. Remember that goal against Arsenal. Wayne Rooney. Remember the name? Remember the name?
You remember the name,
against David Seaman in goal. Then obviously went, Manchester United and did all that stuff. But it was. He's an Everton fan.
Yeah, we know that. It was his club, wasn't it? And he left and went on to become this huge star. Went on to do what he did with England and Man United. Then for him to go back to his boyhood club where it all started, I just think was a great story.
An unbelievable player.
Oh, ridiculous. I remember him, like I said many times before, him and Gerrard were just a level above at England. He just had everything. He had touch, technique, shoot, right, left foot, worked harder than anyone, could take free kicks. He used to play in centre-back in training, just messing about, zinging 40-yard balls. I think he's really, I wouldn't say underrated because of the stuff but I still think he's a top player. Never really gets put in that bracket.
Bracket of soup.
I know what I'm not Messi, Ronaldo. I'm not talking that bracket. But after them, just below, I think he's right at the top of...
Do you think the fact, which sounds ridiculous, that he worked so hard, chasing back so much, that perhaps that negated a little bit of his performances at the other end? If he'd have been a little bit more selfish or played just further up, that his numbers would have even been better. But I mean, what a career he's had anyway. I don't know why I'm trying to say
that. But you always got them niggling. It's like James Vaughan. James Vaughan, young kid at Everton, always used to get injured because he used to go back and tackle it and, you know, get the cheers from the crowd. But in the end, he just had so many injuries from that. And I think if Rooney would have been more selfish, he would have got even greater numbers, definitely.
He didn't. He had 1 or 2 injuries. He did metatarsals, didn't he? Just
yeah,
before we'd lost him. And I think the one thing that people talk about Rooney and perhaps the reason they don't elevate him up there with the top hierarchy is possibly the major tournaments. It didn't, apart from the first one in Portugal, where he was unbelievable, it didn't really quite happen for him for a variety of reasons. And I also think he played in an era, personally, of probably the weakest bunch of players that England had. You know, you go back, you know, possibly.
I'm with that. I mean, you don't have to sell him to me.
Certainly in the last part of his career, and not early on because he was with Gerrard and stuff, but, you know, once you start talking South Africa onwards, England weren't that good. So maybe it was that. But it was, you know, back to Everton.
Amazing. I mean, as I said, I don't think you don't have to sell him to me. I was one of his biggest fans, and for what he achieved in his career, he would have done a job for you anywhere on the pitch. I think he was that talented. Yeah. So yeah, superb.
You got Keegan second. You've got Keegan first. And you've got Drogba above Keegan. I mean,
just because he won the Premier League. Yeah. I mean, with Keegan, he was just so close. It was great, but just to miss out. We all know that moment where. He had the whole meltdown with Fergie. If he would have won that, it would have just the icing on the cake, and he would have been number one. But I think if you come back as a legend like Drogba did and win the Premier League, the influence he had was just massive.
Kevin, I mean,
he's my hero.
I must admit, no one does romance quite like Keegan.
He's my hero. I mean, as I said earlier, I stood on the terraces.
When was the first time you met him?
When he came as a player to Newcastle, because there was a competition going on. The sponsors then, the Newcastle Blue Stars, the breweries, on the shirts, wasn't it? Is that so? He had the competition to go on to the training ground for a dozen kids, I think, and I was lucky enough I won one.
Oh, so you won a competition?
So I've got...
to meet Kevin Keegan.
I did. So I went up to the training ground and met all the Newcastle players, and Kevin was there, and a little 11 or 12-year-old I was, so I've still got the picture. Yeah. That's when I first met him, and then obviously I was there in his debut, as I said. I got there at 9 o'clock in the morning, the Gallagher end queue for...
Is that what you had to do?
For 5 or 6 hours, and I thought I was going to be one of the first there. Me and my pals, there was thousands there. So really? wherever Kevin went, he just had an entourage of like, I mean...
He had an incredible aura about him, didn't he? A real presence.
He was brilliant with fans. And I mean, you talk about getting on and mixing with fans. I mean, even now, if you see Kevin, if you ever go to an event, he will always be the last there in terms of talking, engaging, signing autographs, having pictures, always. And the number of times at Newcastle after games, he was there 2 and 3 hours for autographs. I mean, I was one of those when I was there. So then to go and sign for him and for then to him to come back as manager,
I know,
to take the club from where they were to then on the brink of winning the Premier League was unbelievable. Yeah. So
I suppose when you were that 12-year-old kid, when you won that competition and I'm sure he signed you an autograph.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought that one day you'd sign for him?
I know, it's amazing, yeah. I mean, then he signed me as at Newcastle, obviously. Then he was manager at England, playing for England. So it was weird how it worked out, yeah. And
was he too emotional to be...
He was very emotional, yeah, very, very, as we know. I mean, what you saw with Kevin was him. I mean, he was like that every day.
Yeah. He was heart on his sleeve.
Absolutely, yeah. And that, that might have been one of his downfalls in the end. I mean, because Fergie knew what he was doing when they went up in the league. You could see Fergie dropping little bombs every week, wasn't he? And Kevin reacted in the way he did. But that's the way he was.
I'd love it. I would love it. I love it. It's one of the greatest. It was extraordinary. When it was like, what are we watching?
Look at his face, his eyes, everything.
I tell you, I love it.
I was sat watching that at home as well, because obviously I wasn't there then. That was the season before. I started thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's why I've got that as number one, because it's romantic returns, and for what he did for Newcastle, and the fans, rightly so, still absolutely love him for what he did for Newcastle.
Yeah. as you've got different ones, I make the decision. I'm going to go with Keegan because I think he embraces everything that is romantic and nuts and emotional about going back to a football club. So
I'll accept that.
I'm going to go with Alan on this one. Lots of great stories. It's quite hard to rank these in order of success because they didn't always work out, but it was great. So those were our romantic returns. With a bit of luck, we'll also be back for another episode of Match of the Day Top 10. We'll see you then.
Hello, I'm Tony Bellew and I am angry. A number of people have come to me over the years asking me to do podcasts, and I've never really been interested in it, but I got approached and the BBC said, what about a podcast about anger? I've always been interested in finding out what makes other people tick, how do they use anger.
I have the frustration type of anger, like you just saw then, every day.
Rio Ferdinand come round and he's walked in the house and he's looking at every door, just a big fist through every door. I remember just sat after thinking, what am I doing?
Tony Bellew is angry. Listen on BBC Sounds.